guys, here we are. Okay. Guess we'll just go back to harvesting our wheat where we left off. So far, we pretty much unloaded the grain cart once. Put our air wheel back on. I always like doing draper work a little bit more than corn. So I have a little bit tighter turning radius on this combine. About the same as the MR version in 13. Nice quiet in the cab. One of the nice features of Drive Control is he pretty much implemented everything you can possibly want, however limited the basically the control. So the old wheel lane script works from 13, I believe, and indoor sounds. A little bit of issues with that I noticed in that Euro Ropa sugar beet harvester. Kind of has some funny conflictions with the noise when you go in and out of the cab. But overall, I like this. I like that. I wish tractors were a little bit more quiet, like the combines are. But what can you do? I wonder what would happen if I went ahead and I tilled in these windrows. What would happen with the soil mod? Because I don't think it recognizes it as chopped straw. It would recognize it as windrow, but not really sure if it would add any nutrients back into the soil. Maybe it would. Maybe it'd recognize it as like that green fertilizer mod that you can till in your crops, and then it gives you some nutrients that would benefit. But so this is a 8120 combine. I used a 7120 in FS13 MR version. It was a really fun combine to use. I miss that Mario gave you the ability to actually like purchase bigger combines and see a difference between the threshing and cleaning area and the power and the amount of crop you can bring in based on square meter cleaning area and horsepower requirements and everything like that. And you had yield loss if you were bringing in more crop than your combine could actually clean and handle. You had a yield loss, which was pretty cool. I mean, the only downside is course play didn't really recognize your loss of yield, which I mean, I don't blame them. I'm pretty sure that would be pretty hard to implement with the coding necessary for that to be functional, but maybe if there was a script that allowed you to, much like how this is displaying my speed, and in some cases it displays your machine hours, it displays your RPMs, it displays your fill level, it displays your fuel gauge. I imagine it wouldn't be that difficult to write a script that would basically look at your working with it would look at your working with your speed, so you have your total square meters that you're covering, you have your distance, so you have your acres per hour, or you have a area over time and distance interval, and then you'd obviously have your fill level that's increasing. So you can easily write an equation to give you, liters per acre, and do that real time. And actually, I think that'd be a great script to implement. Is a real-time yield monitor that would give you your yield in liters per hectare or something like that. So you could really get see quickly the difference in discrepancies in your field based on the weeds that are there, the percentage of weeds, see if your yield monitor would go down. I don't know, I think that'd be a really neat feature. I think a lot of people would, if people would put in the time to make that. I'm trying to learn more on scripting, LUA, writing LUA, and reading and understanding the true false what if function logics, but definitely like not a top priority for me. It's just something I think would be cool. And I think having a pivot irrigation system placeable in GE that runs off a script would be much more practical than if it's a vehicle that you buy and move around and kind of thing. Because I mean, when you see those things in fields, they put them in the field and they don't move them. They're there for 10-20 years. They don't get moved. They only get moved when they fall apart or they get sold. So it'd be cool if you can run up to it and turn it on or turn it off, or fill it, or it would act like it was a well. Maybe you could put like a placeable fertilizer next to it or something like that, or because usually it's just water they irrigate. It would really help with the soil mod to keep your moisture up instead of trying to spraying it all the time. wish Giants would put more resolution into their diffuse images. I mean, these are so pixelated and so grainy that it's like I understand they're all about that low poly, so you can run this game on like extremely primitive computer. But I mean, come on, like you put in all the time to script it and animate. I mean, that's one impressive air conditioning heat vent. I mean, those buttons on the radio. Whoa. Buttons, you can almost see what's on them. I don't know, it's whatever. So I'm curious as to when they'll be coming out with when they came out with that titanium add-on. That was pretty cool that they pretty much made an American or somewhat American edition, but I don't remember when that came out, and I'm just curious when they're going to be coming out with another kind of like American DLC pack. I mean, they need to really spend time making American implements. I understand that the European implements have, it needs to fit in like a 3 meter by 3 meter cube, or they have some kind of road restriction on the size of implements. Where here in the States, there's basically it's all about axle weight and weight per axle on roads. There is no size. No one cares about how big it is. But everything else, I mean, they try to do an American map, but your biggest implement's 3 meters wide. I mean, people's garden tractors run bigger implements. But like on my Wind Chaser map, when you're farming whatever it is, 2,000 hectares, and even with the biggest implements, it still takes 10 hours of tillage, 20 hours of harvest, running course play pretty much all the time. So can't imagine what it would be like if you have small implements. There's no way it would ever be fun. It would be work. The game would actually be work. It'd be boring. You would make no money. Couldn't buy any of the big machines, couldn't buy land, couldn't buy any buildings. I mean, even with that 24-row planter I made, it's great. It's a big planter in real life, but in game it still feels like it takes forever to plant, an average field that, in real life is 140 acres or so. In game it feels like it takes forever. Same with cultivating it. But I guess it's just because I'm so used to running the 120-foot planter. Everything seems small when you go from the biggest to mid-size. Forgot to look at my fill level. American Farming Simulator, that's exactly what we need. Pretty much made my own American Farming Simulator. one thing that really bugs me is this whole shaky Rocky thing now. Like, whose ever idea at Giants this was needs to be fired. This is stupid. Like, I get that it's filling up, but you know, I don't think your tractor does this kind of thing in real life. And then it goes away once you like go forward a little bit or reverse. It just stops. It's so bizarre. Might as well get back in and finish up this field. So, things that they could actually, simple things I think they can do to really enhance this game is adding a third field terrain. Well, there's already three, so I guess a fourth. There's the planted texture, there's the cultivated texture, and there's the plowed texture. But there would be a great I don't know like what advantage it would be, but if there was like a plowed, a cultivated, and like a field prep, or maybe I don't know, something that will allow you to add in like side dressing or like strip tilling or like just a different, more modern means of tillage. It'd be great if they implemented soil mod in as standard, like they kind of implemented Durrell's MR. Some of his codes, they implemented lines of coding they implemented in for his physics. Way vehicle mass was calculated, fuel usage, and so on and so forth. So it'd be great if they kind of implemented a similar version of that. And then another thing would be now you can only have one navigation mesh for animals, and if you put two of them separate, like say like you have two pastures, they get stuck along the fences because they're trying to like go to both, and they can't. So it'd be great if you actually had the ability to make maps with multiple navigation meshes. And if the silos where it says like is farm silo true, false, if you had the ability to have capacities on your silos, and so you could only store X amount of grain here until you had to go and unload at a different location. So I think that would be great. So we are done with wheat. Yes. I also don't know why they just like buy out people's scripts and just give them a small royalty so they can put, stuff standard. Like I see, like the panels on this should all be interactive. I feel like that should just be standard at this point. Or at least export the models with all the panels already separated so we don't have to. It gets annoying after a while. So now the question is, get the lights on the header trailer. How do I want to attack this big soybean field? Attack it first by emptying this. See, I mean, everything, there's already so many scripts available for speed, RPM, odometer, fuel, that I imagine it can't be very difficult to write one for yield monitor. So. If you had to, man, like you'd literally get motion sickness in this. If you had to sell, or you had to like dry your grain before you can put it in your silo, or if you didn't dry your grain, kind of like fermenting, you got to put it in a bunker and it ferments. If you didn't dry your grain before you put it in, like it gradually dwindles in storage after X amount of days. I think that'd be a neat feature. La la la. 8120. So, funny story actually, for those of you that are still listening, watching. So I had a patient today, and he finally showed up for his appointment, but he no-showed to like the last 3 scheduled appointments we had for him. And so I was, we have staff that call patients. That's not our job. As the doctor and surgeon, that's the receptionist's job. But I was like, you know what? I'm really tired, so I'm just gonna call this guy to make sure he's coming. And so I called, yesterday to confirm the appointment. I don't know if he was gonna show up or not. And like I call I call him and he picks up. I was like, is this so and so? He's like, yeah, who this Comcast? Like, he thought I was a telemarketer, and I was like, no, this is your dentist. So it was just funny, not to like be racist or anything, but it's definitely like the lower socioeconomic status individuals. They're always the funniest people. It was hilarious. I had to like prevent myself from laughing on the phone. Anyways, back to Farm Sim. I think I'm gonna start over here on the easy GPS part because I'm being lazy and this is more intense. So if I cut the field, what's the best way to do this with course play after is my question. I think the best way is to go north and south for course play. Corn still has a ways to go, which is fine, no biggie. We sold like 1.1 million liters of it during a great demand, so the price is shit. Like if I sold that, I'd probably lose money. Anyways, we get putts on over here to like the poor neighbor's place, and I'll set up shop around here. And then I'll just I don't know how farmers actually like pull their header trailers. So I'll just cut it like so. Okay, we got our real a little bit basic. Nutrients are high, moisture is right where you want to be, but these are spec'd to be right around I think it was around 70 bushel on acre beans. So I think what the math came out in ideal. or actually if there was a way that the terrain was manipulated by like tilling in the ground, or if like the weather or the rain caused like erosion and took away crops and stuff. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of things you can implement to make the game better. I'd say the biggest improvements I've seen over 13 are the physics. The standard in-game physics are night and day different. 13 was a complete joke until MR was invented. You couldn't even move a bale. A lot of the scripts that were used in 13 are now pretty much standard in 15. I like the fact that your lights don't really lag the game at all at night anymore. Like lights on buildings at night, lights on vehicles, lights on trains. Some things I'm sad that were changed. The traffic spline system, I don't know why they ever changed that. The milk truck, I mean, I can't be the only one that misses the milk truck. The milk truck was great. And I missed being able to push cars out of the way. Yes, it does rain in 15. Rains and hails. It's annoying. The hail is annoying. It actually does damage to crops. Particles, a lot better. I like the dynamic fill planes. The spec maps. You know, I think it's okay, but 13 was definitely better. I mean, it saves you some time because you don't have to like actually put in all the index all the components you want to be washable, but you also didn't have to make sure there's only one UV map associated with each shape either, so definitely think they regressed. What else? I definitely think they need to fix the great demand issue, like in 13, Darrell's MR. His MR maps, it was a great demand. It was a great demand for like it didn't last an hour. Like you had all day to sell your crops. It would be cool if they implemented more economy features like contracted rates. like you can, like all these new simulation games, like you sign contract, or like, truck sim, there's like a contract shows up, you go pick up a trailer, you drive for a couple hours and you drop it off. If they can implement something like you're contracted with different sell points, different prices, and that way there isn't this 1 hour sprint to go sell, 1 million or 2 million liters of crops, and then the price plummets. That's not how it happens in real life. If it's a great demand in real life, where they're hurting for grain, and so they're going to buy up as much of it as they can, and they're not going to drop the price like in a matter of hours after it's a commodity, it's publicly traded. If Budweiser needs wheat, they're gonna give you a good price for it. Or if Kellogg's needs to make more cornflakes and shit, they need grain. I don't think Giants is the most valid company out there. I mean, based on how they keep the scripts private for so long, or how they hold these contests and give too many there's too much discrepancies in the rules, or rules are bendable, or rules don't apply to these people but they apply to you, and there's really no incentive to actually put any time into modding anymore, because you get nothing out of it, nothing of value, nothing substantial. At least for me, based on how much time I put into my work, the rewards, there are none, essentially. So I don't know, there's really the game, I think just farming in general, just being out, the reason why I play it, it's definitely not the most dynamic, most sophisticated game, most challenging game, most strategic game, most social game, but it's definitely probably one of the most relaxing games I've ever played. That's probably why I play it as much as I do. It's because it kind of gets my mind off of, my real life. Modeling and learning a new skill is more fun than playing, but every now and then I like to just hop on here and play for a couple hours and harvest some craps. But definitely modeling and texturing is where it's at. It has, kind of fuels my inner engineering. Grew up wanting to be an engineer, come from a family of engineers, and come from engineering and medicine, so decided to go the medicine route over engineering, but hey. Medicine's definitely a lot more challenging in my opinion. Engineering just comes too easy. The math, the physics, the the rendering. It's just, I don't know, get bored really easy. Not to mention you don't really make that much. You don't make shit for money. Hours aren't that great. Benefits aren't that great. You're an employee for someone else. It's just crazy stuff. Rather be a landowner, a baron. Not necessarily a farmer, but the person that owns the land that the farmer uses. That would be the ideal situation. Because even though you're not the farmer, you're the landowner, and the land that's being farmed qualifies for all these tax subsidizations and exemptions, and even if you own ag land but don't farm it, and you can put it in furloughs, you still like get reduced tax rates, and you actually get like a certain money back per acre of that isn't being farmed. Basically to keep commodity prices up, essentially, is what that's supposed to incentivize. But it's not the farmer that's receiving the benefits, it's the person who owns the land, even if that person isn't a farmer. For example, like my dentist back home, his office does $1.4 million a year, and his second company is the one that owns the real estate. He has 5 offices. One of his offices does 1.4. I mean, I don't know what his total company does, but it's the dental practices are under a different company, and the real estate company owns the land that's rented to the practice, and the practice pays an elevated rate, and then they just use all that land. And he owns some more commercial property, but his latest thing back in 2008 was when that stock market crashes. Basically all this land went, all this high valuable land, basically the price of it was cut into a fraction of what it was selling for, a year or two earlier. So yeah, basically he just bought up a bunch of agriculture land. But I've been, all these land, all this real estate that's being sold or traded, it's all public information. It's in the paper. It's all listed, and you never see, and every year they update tax information, so you can see what your neighbors are paying for property taxes, and you can see based on tax charge who owns what section of land, who owns it, in like every year you never see any of the names change on land, like the farmers, the land ownership. You never see anyone growing, you never see anyone selling out. So it's kind of like, I would say the last 10 years I've only seen one situation where a farmer bought more land, and that was from the sale of government land. It was like 600 acres for $3 million or something like that. Not even that great of land, but everything else is just rented or leased, from existing owners, retired, old farmers that are saving land for family members or nephews or something like that. They're so accustomed to having that consistent stream of passive residual income, and it's cheap to own the land, so they just hold on to it. But there's very little land that's being bought and sold for agricultural purposes. There's a lot of real estate, like woods, being flip-flopped. There's a lot of real estate, like houses, that are being bought and sold, but there's like essentially no agriculture land being bought and sold. I don't know what it's like in other areas of the states, but based where I'm from, northern Wisconsin, it's pretty stagnant. I'm sure there's multiple reasons for that, but And I'm sure, like, you know, if there is land available, a farmer's not going to want to travel, you know, 2, 3, 4 counties over to go farm it. I mean, you lose your butt in diesel fuel just to transport over there, so especially when it was over $4 a gallon. You can't run off-road fuel and the equipment on the road. You know, you get hit with a $10,000 fine. It's not even worth it at that point. So I imagine it's hard to do, you know, it's hard for farmers to make it when they don't have the ability to grow. And the only real way to grow is if you actually own the land, but no one's selling. And the amount that they get for renting land is, you know, your break-even point's probably like, for a corn example, between the rental fees and your crop and your nutrients you're putting into the field, is you probably have to achieve 200 bushel corn just to break even, you know. You know, and most farmers are lucky to get 200 bushel yields, 250 bushel yields. So basically, if you're renting and leasing, I feel bad for you, because it probably is a struggle. But for those that own, you know, a couple hundred thousand, you know, a couple hundred to a couple thousand acres, like actually own it, like they're probably making money hand over fist as compared to their peers that rent. So, but what can you do? You know, to invest in new equipment, you need to have a good stream of revenue to offset your costs. But if you have no revenue and you're operating on no profit to begin with, you can't even invest in new equipment. Pretty sure the transmission on this would just get burnt up if I kept doing that. 1,000 bushel grain cart. Boom, there goes $4,500 transmission. That's my stop. Wow. 62%. Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. This is hilarious. What are they thinking when they implemented this in the game? I don't see the truck doing that. I don't see this modded truck doing it at all. It's just this tractor. In-game tractor. Whatever. Anyways, it's late. Got patients in the morning, so I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks for watching.